following program is a special presentation of KETC, made possible through the generous support of its members.
Unlocking the doors to places you can't go. This is Off Limits. We thought we'd start our Off Limits expedition at one of the toughest places in all of St. Louis to get into. Deep inside the Federal Reserve Bank, there's millions and millions and millions of dollars in cash. That's why this place is built like a fortress. It's got a front door, it's got a lobby. That's usually as far as you're going to get. Rod Serling would have liked this place.
You are about to enter another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of money. You are about to enter the greenback zone.
This is the vault of the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis.
There's a significant amount of money at any given time at the Fed, but I don't want to put a specific dollar volume on it, even a range, just because of our concern, our topmost, uppermost concern for security. It would be in the millions, but beyond that, I'd rather not go.
This is where the big money is. In the basement of a big downtown building wrapped on all four sides, plus top and bottom, in a steel and concrete bunker several feet thick, monitored constantly by countless cameras, motion detectors, and security guards. Tours and other visitors are not allowed down here, and we barely got in.
It's a pretty formidably built building. The original bank building is, you could probably ram a tank into it and not dent it. Going out into the ground at varying heights and levels and distances are sound and motion detectors. So that if anyone ever tried to get in, it'd be impossible. If they tried to drill in, there'd be people waiting here looking at their stopwatches saying, "What took you so long?"
Security is so tight that thick walls of glass always kept our cameras well out of reach of any stray currency. And we weren't just separated from the money, but also from the people who handle millions of dollars every day. We weren't allowed to show faces of workers, just their hands, as they counted and stacked and bundled big bundles of big bucks. This place naturally invented the term off limits.
The banks send the cash here because they don't need all the money they take in at any one time to do their everyday business.
This is the bank's bank.
They deposit it here almost like you do at your own bank, and that's where we do the processing. Run it through our machine, weed out the bad bills and shred them, weed out the very few counterfeits that do appear, and put the money back into circulation. We send it back out when banks order it from us.
Weeding out bad bills involves some high-tech hardware. A machine like this is in every Federal Reserve Bank. It automatically examines each bill, in part to decide whether some currency is just too old and fragile to make another trip back into somebody's wallet.
That's where the money is put through a machine that tries to detect counterfeits, tries to detect bills that are not worthy to be circulated anymore, ones that might be dirty or torn.
This little machine can't do much of anything without a living, breathing human being to do the thinking. A novel idea these days.
The person working there, with his or her expertise, can determine right away if it can be put back into circulation, should it be shredded because there's a number of things wrong with the bill, or if it is a possible counterfeit. And then we attach some information to it on a form, what bank did it come from, other valuable information. We send it to the Secret Service, and they make the formal determination that it's counterfeit. All that is aimed at making the money look good, spend well, do what it's supposed to do. That's why American money is a world standard, because people have faith in it. It'll buy what it's supposed to do. It holds its value. It's virtually counterfeit free.
Up to 1.5 million bills of all denominations are handled at the Fed each day. but only 3 or 4 pieces of counterfeit currency might turn up. The $10 bill on the bottom looks fake, it feels fake, it is fake. The 20 is the most copied, but the new currency designs with special watermarks are much tougher to counterfeit. Okay, this is the highlight of the visit, my opportunity of a lifetime to hold in my arms $1 million. Yet I figure if I keep going at the rate I'm going, someday I will owe somebody this much money. Now this is the point where you want to do something funny, but the thing about the Federal Reserve is they have great security and they have a lousy sense of humor. So, thank you. Who needs that much money anyway? Well, at our next stop, we'll need a lot. Thanks. Think we could stop by an ATM on the way? Sure. Thanks. Of course, you don't need a stretch limo to get to the Ritz-Carlton, but I thought it was a nice touch, a good fit. Besides, my car's in the shop. I don't know if you've ever been in one of these things, but it's like a long, narrow living room, although it's a living room with mirrors on the ceiling. It's got couches, room for 14 of your closest friends, I guess, if you get thirsty. 5 different bar areas. And then in the back, of course, you've got all the controls. They put in about as much of a home entertainment system as they can get in here. 5 different TV screens, stereo, CD player, VCR. You can put in a tape. I'm going to put in a documentary. And of course, privacy. Thanks. You're welcome. Nice car. This is a place that upholds a standard of elegance found only in selective cities of the world. While the Ritz-Carlton Hotel may be a relative newcomer to St. Louis, its name and reputation raise it to a class that speaks the language of upscale, luxury, and service. It is, after all, the Ritz. Oh, thank you very much. Nice place. The Presidential Suite, room number 1808 on the top floor, with a panoramic view of downtown St. Louis in the distance on a partly sunny day. You don't need to be a president, king, queen, or rock star to get in here. You just need a healthy credit card or lots and lots of cash. Your cost is what for this particular room or suite?
This room goes for $2,000 a night.
That's the real price. That's not, just the show price, and then you really cut it down for somebody. That's
that is the price of this room.
Do I have to add tax on top of that?
Yes, and tax is almost 15%.
Wow. And what do you get for $2,000 a night?
Anything that you could imagine.
It is truly an elegant home away from home, a huge loft-sized suite with amenities you may not find anywhere else.
Well, we have Versace place settings, and I believe that we're the only hotel in the city that has Versace wear. This particular table will seat 8 comfortably. We also have another table that is a little bit larger that will seat 12. We've had several board of directors meetings here, private parties certainly that we cater to, and we just want to make sure that we have the best possible items in the world available to us, because we have a very, very demanding clientele.
I'm a guest. I'm paying $2,000 a night, and I break one of your Versace plates.
That could very possibly happen, but it's more important to provide the best that can be offered.
So you're not going to charge me for that plate if it was an accident?
Probably not. Yeah.
But if I'm throwing them, you might.
We might keep track at that point and charge your credit card appropriately. Yes.
Okay. That's sort of the rock group question. Celebrities. Now, I guess the question people ask is like, who has stayed here? Mm-hmm. Can you say?
No, I cannot say. I know who has stayed here, but I would not be able to reveal that type of information.
Is that part of the service?
It's part of our discretion, yes.
But famous people?
Oh, yes, definitely.
This is where they would stay?
Most definitely, yes, sir.
Now, presidential, do we get presidents stay?
We have had presidents stay here.
Can we say which presidents?
Well, all the surviving presidents.
Okay, all right, because that's, you know, we're paying for that, so we should be able to know. Late 18th century European art, antiques, Persian rugs, vases, sculpture, a fireplace to warm a wintry night, and polished brass fireplace tools to keep the gas fire embers burning. All the comforts of a home that most of us will never know.
We have bridal couples that would like to just have a wonderful send-off to the rest of their lives, and this is where they come. We've had sports figures and just, you know, CEOs of major corporations that have stayed here at the Ritz-Carlton in the presidential suite, sometimes for months on end. There was a celebrity that stayed in this room that arrived for a 3-day stay with 28 pieces of Louis Vuitton luggage, and on each of the pieces of luggage it had a big name tag, about so big, that said "mine!" exclamation point. And,
28 pieces?
Correct.
They were all brought up here?
For a 3-day stay.
3
And,
days, wow,
yes,
okay.
and of which I had to unpack those for a 3-day stay.
That's like 9 pieces a day.
Yes, yes.
Tell me a little about, we walked through, you've got 2 full baths here.
Correct, a very large master suite with the 2 bathrooms. One has a jacuzzi and the other one has a sauna.
At this price, you can be whoever you want to be and
Correct.
do whatever you want to do.
Correct.
No questions asked.
Correct. And no secrets revealed.
Right. I got remote control, some champagne, and oh yeah, Bertrand, s'il vous plaît.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right here. That's good. Yeah.
Have a nice day, man.
Yeah, merci.
My pleasure.
Bertrand, here's some ketchup. All it takes is the price of a ticket. In the bleachers or the front row behind the plate, you can watch a Cardinals game whenever they're in town. Come early enough and you might see Mark McGwire launch a few baseballs. Then you can wait around for him to sign an autograph. Well, maybe sign an autograph. Off the field, you can go to any number of concession stands for a beer, a jumbo hot dog, and nachos that can cost more than your ticket.
$12.25.
But as easy as it is to get around inside Busch Stadium, you can't go everywhere. Some places are just off limits, closed, guarded. The team locker rooms, the press room, and one of the places almost everybody wants to go, you can't. You're not welcome.
This game is underway. Ball 1, strike 1 to Craig Biggio, now foul. This is an intriguing place. I know when I was a kid, I was never able to visit a broadcast booth in Boston, where I saw my first game, or in Cleveland, where I saw a lot of games, until I got into business in 1950. It's just, you know what, we have a perfect view. That's why we never make any mistakes up here in the booth. And everybody comes in there and says, man, this is terrific. And it is. It's, you know, it's a fun job. It's a fun place. Baseball's a fun game. It's not like working on an assembly line or anything of the sort. If somebody works in a factory, I'm sure their friends don't want to go watch them work, do they? And Everett running the base.
Jack Buck first broadcast a Cardinals game 45 years ago when Dwight Eisenhower was president. Even though most people never get in here, special guests and KMOX sponsors often do. But you can't.
90% of the people, or even higher percentage than that, are excluded from here. It's tough to get past those guards once you get off the elevator. Although every once in a while somebody staggers in here who doesn't belong, but yeah, most of the people are excluded from here. There'd be ways to get in here. I'm not going to tell you whether it's possible or not. I'm not going to tell you how to do it if it is possible, because somebody will do it. Somebody we're talking to out there now will come in and say, Jack Buck told me to do this.
On televised games, viewers can usually get a glimpse of the announcers working in the booth.
A guy with a suit and a net.
Yeah, look at me.
But this is radio.
They've done a lot of things right in the last few seasons. They picked him up.
Mike Shannon has been broadcasting Cardinals baseball on KMOX radio for close to 30 years.
Well, I think the one thing that intrigues them mostly is that every night they turn that broadcast booth on, but they don't know what it looks like. They don't know who's really in there. And I think that's probably as big a mistake as anything about it. They try to picture that in their own mind, but if you picture something in your mind, it's not like your eyes putting it in your mind. And of course, that's what they'd really like to do. They can picture it, but they haven't seen it.
Now, you might think the booth directly behind home plate would be a magnet for foul balls. Maybe not a magnet, more like a missile testing range.
We can go through the whole season and get 1 or 2 baseballs or 3 or 4 hit foul up into this booth. They usually hit the screen down below, or they hit and go in the upper deck over. But when they come in here, you don't want to try to catch them because they just miss the top of the screen and they're really whistling. And we scramble it like somebody has thrown a grenade in there. We go to our left and our right to the floor, under the counter. And when I was younger, I used to stand up and try to catch him. And Shannon's always been smart enough to get out of the way. Bases loaded, 1 out, and a 2-2 pitch. It's coming. It's swung on, and the fly ball is centered. Drew is going back. Back at the track, he makes the play. All the runners tag. A run scores. It is 2-0, and out at second as Drew threw him out, but the run scored. I still love it. We're 20-some games out of first place, and I've had other jobs. I worked in restaurants and gas stations and assembly lines, and I've riveted and painted and cooked and done this, and worked in drive-ins and a lot of other jobs, department stores, shipping clerk, a cook, a baker. I've done all that stuff. I realize how fortunate I am to be seated down here in this booth and to have been here for that many years. I'm exhilarated, no matter what I've done that day, no matter how I feel, whether I have a cold or my back is aching or the sciatica is acting up, or my pacemaker misses, or my Parkinson's acts up, or my diabetes is bothering me. I walk into the ballpark here, and with the lights, the crowd, the grass, the game, I'm just wide awake. I just love every moment of it, and I always have. When we played the Cubs in the final weekend of the season, the ballpark was filled for all 3 games. There isn't a soul who was sitting out there who wouldn't accept it if you said, "Want to come up to the broadcast booth and see what's going on?" I think everybody in the ballpark would like to come up here. On the other hand, sometimes I'd like to go sit in the bleachers because those are the good baseball fans, and I like to rub shoulders with them. There's no problem getting in the bleachers, is it?
Well, this has to be one of St. Louis's most recognizable buildings, and a National Historic Landmark at that, the brew house at Anheuser-Busch. Now, you can see parts of it if you take the tour, and then when you're done, they take you over to sample the product, but that's just for fun. The sampling that goes on in this building is serious business, and you won't get near it on the tour. On the very top floor, beneath an expansive glass skylight, is a relatively obscure facility where raw materials from several countries and beer samples from each of Anheuser-Busch's worldwide breweries are put to the test for quality and consistency. This is where they taste the beer.
In brewing, we define quality as taste, consistency, and drinkability, and consistency being one of the 3. Very, very important. And the reason is really very simple. Beer drinkers expect their Budweiser to taste the same day in and day out, no matter where they are in the country, and today in this global environment anywhere in the world.
In an attractive, spacious room with maple wall paneling and wood-carved decorations depicting grains and hops, the corporate taste experts practice time-honored techniques for detecting any inconsistencies.
This room is designed to be clean, quiet, odor-free, austere in the fact that you don't see a lot of fabrics, because we don't want anything that may pick up an odor and then give it back to us later when we're tasting the beer.
But even before a single beer is poured, the things that make beer beer must be tested first.
All of our taste sessions start off with an evaluation of all of the ingredients to the beer. So we don't just start with the final product, we start all the way upstream evaluating the quality of each of the ingredients. So we have malt, which is the main ingredient in beer, and rice, which constitutes a secondary ingredient in Budweiser and Bud Light. And the hops that we use for adding the spice to the beer, the bitterness and the characteristic aroma to the beer. So what we have here are the 3 main ingredients, the dry ingredients, if you will. And so the samples that we have in front of us have arrived at the brewery in the last 24 hours. We look at in-process beer, and this is beer that hasn't been packaged yet, so this is prior to being born, if I could use that term. And we're looking at the beer in terms of how it's doing in the aging process. Is it going through the normal flavor changes as the beer matures? And so it gives the brewmaster sort of a long-range signal as to what the final beer is going to taste like. And blending decisions can be made at that point in order to maintain that consistency. And then the final step, of course, is the packaged beer. And what we look at here in St. Louis on a weekly basis is every Budweiser made in all of our breweries around the world that are shipped in here overnight. Whatever's packaged on Monday, whether it's in St. Louis or whether it's in central China, we will taste the following Friday. That's when we make the final evaluation of did we hit the mark in terms of taste and consistency. This is a company that's been making beer for well over 100 years, and we take this tasting very, very seriously. It's purposefully a quiet place, not intended to be a stopping point for tours. Generally speaking, it's off limits to the public.
So off limits, in fact, that many Anheuser-Busch employees don't even know it exists.
The Teacher's Lounge is a place where you can go to relax, blow off a little bit of steam, do a little bit of complaining or something. It's the one place in the building that it belongs to the teachers alone.
We wouldn't like them coming in, eavesdropping on our conversations, or maybe seeing what we're doing, because that's really none of their business, because that's our special time.
It is a place where the students are not supposed to be, so it is something that if a student would come to the Teacher's Lounge door and knock on the door, stick their head in, they would be questioned immediately, probably by almost every adult sitting at the table or every adult in the lounge, so it would kind of be an onslaught when they open the door. At lunchtime, you'll get lots of little peeks where the door starts to open. You'll hear them messing with the doorknob. We tell them you need to stop. Or the biggest one is if you get up and open the door and you catch them, and they get that look on their face like, and they don't know what to say, and they get scared and they can't move.
So what's off limits about a car? Well, it's not the car, it's the radio. You're driving along in heavy traffic. People are cutting you off in front. They're tailgating from behind. And look, road rage free. Why? Well, because of the radio. The people are making you smile. You turn it on, they come into your car. But you can't get into their studio. Well, not until now.
Hey, I got a suggestion to get that TP out of your house. You know those big, long extension tree trimmers?
Mm-hmm.
You can try one of those, and if you can't get the TP out, you can just
chop the tree down.
Chop the tree down.
Hey, Shelley, how old are you?
I'm 39.
Favorite age?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, I am AM in the PM.
Of course you are. If each of the 20 threw 3 or 4 rolls of toilet paper, I mean, that's a lot of TP in there. Let's see.
Well,
in fact, Shelley, let's say there were 20 kids. Okay?
The Frank Opinion AM in the PM show is one of the top 5 afternoon radio programs in St. Louis. No topic is too trivial that it can't consume most of an entire program.
Or
is that
3 million squares.
You know who started this? Probably Mr. Whipple, the Shark.
He's
came up
back,
with that.
isn't he?
Yeah, he is back. Probably they're able to pay him to come back from the proceeds and profits of all this TP and stuff.
The secret to the success is so simple. We basically sit around and do what you or anybody else would sit around and do with their friends at a card game or with their buddies at work. We chit-chat.
Why don't you go down and TP Randy's house?
Little music, no serious discussions, and a radio show that just seems to happen. Nothing is planned. No preparations. Nothing.
We talk about what kind of cigars we're going to smoke, and we talk about who's getting the iced tea before the show starts, and that's about all the show planning we do.
That's serious.
Yeah, that's serious. We never do anything.
I'm AM in the PM.
Everybody.
I'm AM in the PM.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
You may know his voice and you can look at Frank Opinion through the studio window at Westport, but he won't look back at you. Only his back and the golf course tan on his head are visible. Believe it or not, he's a bit shy.
I'm not at ease when people are watching me. I don't like the window. We got a window and my back is to it. It's not because I'm, Jerry Seinfeld, who by the way is the rudest guy I ever met. It's not because I want to be, I can't, it's distracting. I can't do what I'm doing. I wish it weren't there. I'd rather have a window and look outside and see the weather.
Appreciate the call. Thank you. This should be Ken. Hello, Ken.
He's most comfortable with the other 4 characters on the show. Producer Dan Levi Strauss, Eon the Peon audio guy, Karen Vale, the only female, and Terry Daly, whose role has never really been completely defined.
Just because I don't like a song doesn't mean I hate children.
You're mean, Terry Daly. You're mean to children.
Oh, that has to hurt. Oh, it hurts me. It hurts me terribly.
Dan Strauss is the funniest guy on our show. I don't want anybody to know that, because if they ever find out that he's really the funniest guy on the show, he's going to want to make like 10 grand a year.
Actually, I'm the world's worst producer. So my job is basically to take anything that goes wrong with the show, and that's all on my shoulders. It's my fault when it goes wrong.
Eon the Peon. Hey man, he's from the video generation of buttons and computers, and he makes that control board dance. If I say, well, Roseanne, today on the Roseanne Show, by the time I say show, he's got a cow. I mean, he's there.
Well, I have to anticipate Frank and like where he's going with the story, and I'll kind of know, and I'll get a sound effect ready for the appropriate point in the story.
900 sound effects are instantly available. 300 are used regularly. Some are used repeatedly.
How did he spell it?
That's how he told me to spell it.
Don't be so defensive.
Oh,
man.
okay.
Wow. Pat, how old are you?
I am 46.
Favorite age?
Who? Frank Opinion was once editorial at another station in another time. Today, he claims to be the highest paid radio or television personality in the whole St. Louis market.
It is an incredible ham, and when you buy it, you are paying for ham.
I get no salary. I have 3 commercials an hour. I get paid from those commercials. I pay 2 of the people on the show. They get paid first. The station takes out of my chunk. The deal I made with them is pay them first. I'll be the risk taker. Whatever's left, if it's a little or a lot. If it's nothing, they get paid first. I'll take nothing. But if it's a lot, I'll take a lot.
The most off-limits part of this program occurs during newscasts and commercials. The microphones are not on. Anything can happen, and sometimes does.
Frank caught his arm on fire. Did anybody talk about this? He was trying to trim the wick on a candle. We always burn a candle in the studio. Well, he trims the wick, and he decides to take the wick and try to carry it across a piece of paper. Well, not only does the wick fall off these little trimmers onto his arm hair catches on fire, but then as he dusts that off, the wick falls onto the paper, and that torches up. So it's that kind of goofy stuff that goes on, and then we come back out of the commercials, and we're all laughing, and now we need to explain why, or perhaps it was so bad we shouldn't explain.
5 before 4. This is the Big 550 KTRS.
The Poplar Street Bridge is anything but off limits, but that's only if you're talking about the top of the bridge. There is another way to cross the bridge just below all that traffic, if you don't mind dangling precariously above the Mississippi River. But it's all in a day's work for the guys who take the river readings for the U.S. Geological Survey. And as Willie Easterling gets this little tin chariot ready for the trip, his partner Hugh Edwards meets us down below.
This is where I was broken into this job.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
What'd you think the first time you went up?
I never wanted to get back on it.
Okay, just what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Now we're going actually inside, I guess, the support of the Poplar Street Bridge.
That's right.
So we're, that's the bridge up there, right?
That's the bridge.
Gee.
That squeaking, that's the expansion joint I was telling you about.
Is this the throttle here? Or is that...
That's exactly what that is.
Okay.
This is a brake. When it's in this position, it's locked. The car won't run anywhere. You have to actually pull it forward this way, and there's a switch here, and we can actually tell it to run forward or backward.
Right. And now this is actually then attached to this rail.
That's correct.
Under all of these. Okay.
Okay, brace yourself.
Yeah, I'm ready. This little car was put in when the bridge was built so the highway people could inspect things from below. The tram could be moved to any one of several rails that run under the length of the bridge. But these days, it's the U.S. Geological Survey that makes the most use of it to regularly measure the river's depth, speed, and volume, and to take samples. When you're in the little car, you can only see upstream, so the first thing they do when they stop to take their readings is to lower a small video camera pointing downstream. This is their rear view mirror, because you can't go lowering 200-pound weights right into oncoming traffic. Well, do what we can here. We can try to change places. Guess you got to get along with whoever you're working with up here, don't you?
Oh, you sure do.
Sure do.
From bank to bank, the current varies plus the depth will vary. Every fifth time it turns around, it sends electrical impulse.
And then you would mark those, and that gives you your current. They will take their readings at maybe 35 different spots from bank to bank. That means the crew will spend 2 or 3 hours in this little car. You like this part of the job?
Oh, I love it.
Do you?
I love it. Some people don't like it, but to me it's peaceful. I mean, the bouncing doesn't bother me, and the noise, but you're out here and it's very peaceful.
Brace yourself. Okay.
All this information is important to those agencies that deal with barge traffic, flood control, and pollution control. They all need to know this river inside out. Well, thanks for the ride.
All righty.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jim.